Time, members of a DEA task force are speaking about the investigation and capture of one of the most dangerous men Memphis has ever known. This man, a drug dealer with ties to Mexican cartels.
His name is Craig Petties. A lot of you are going, oh yeah. He's serving 9 life sentences in the federal pen for murder, conspiracy, drug trafficking, bunch of charges. Fox 13's Jeremy Pierre joining us live this morning, and you talked to the leader of the DEA task force who finally apprehended this guy. What would you say, after 13 years?
Yeah, a total of 13 years, but 8 years for sure, fully concentrating on Craig Petties and his operation. Now we're talking about a very dangerous man, Craig Petties. Now this DEA task force leader went into detail as to how much Craig Petties would pay to have someone killed, and goes into detail as to how taking Petties off the streets interrupted an international drug trafficking operation.
For those who don't know, many remember this man as the biggest drug lord in America at one time.
And he took that route that a lot of these guys do and became one of the biggest drug dealers connected to that cartel in Mexico.
His name is Craig Petties. Former DEA agent Abe Collins says at one point in time, he was the biggest drug trafficker in America, based right here in Memphis.
2001 is when I began the investigation on him, realizing how big, significant of a target he was in this area. From all the intel that we was getting, I initiated the investigation on it. And DEA, you initiate stuff. Nobody just assign you anything. It's up to you to take initiative on investigations, and sometimes that's what's missing in law enforcement.
Collins explained it took a lot of help investigating Pettis, both federal and local law enforcement, on a task force. Thurman Richardson of the Memphis Police Department joined that task force.
He said, we're going to go look for Craig Pettis.
On our free time
in Vegas, because Craig had a house in Vegas.
Collins told me Craig Pettis first got on the radar of federal law enforcement as a teenager in 1995. It wasn't until the 2000s when the DEA really started looking into his dealings with drugs. By that time, Richardson says Pettis' connections became powerful.
You know, once he actually was a fugitive and he set up shop in Mexico, and he had a direct connect with Edgar Valdez Villarreal, which is AKA La Barbie, and El Chapo. Now he's not just feeding Memphis, he's feeding Dallas, he's feeding South Carolina, he's feeding Atlanta, he's feeding South Mississippi, he's feeding Alabama, he's feeding states.
Collins details the capture of Pettis and the teamwork of the task force in a newly released book titled Gladiators.
Unbeknownst to us, even then, this guy was already in Mexico. I just didn't know it. So as you go through the book, you will see it was just at a certain point that we realized that he was no longer in the U.S. He was actually in Acapulco, Mexico City. He had places all throughout the country of Mexico, being protected by some of the corrupt officials there.
Pettis is currently serving 9 life sentences in federal prison for murder, conspiracy, and drug trafficking.
But he had hired killers, and a couple of them we went to trial on. At least 2 of them we did, but he had others. There's so many people out here would take you out for less than what he would pay. They would take you out for $10,000.
Yeah, so tonight, Abe Collins, the author of Gladiators, will be holding a book signing tonight at the Crumpy's Wings on Highland, starting at 5. Craig Pettis, again, serving 9 life sentences. Along with Craig Pettis, about 40 of his employees also serving time now in the federal penitentiary.